Welcome to this explainer. Okay, if you've been following the educational landscape lately, you already know this is absolutely massive. We are diving deep into the much-anticipated DepEd Order number 016, series of 2026. This policy completely reimagines how Filipino educators prepare for their daily classes. We're not just talking about a minor update here. This is a fundamental paradigm shift away from those heavy administrative burdens and a massive step back toward the true art of teaching. Let's kick things off with a quote straight from the policy's rationale, because it is incredibly refreshing. The department explicitly acknowledges that past practices became, and I quote, overly tedious and compliance-driven. They are openly stating that the old templates were actually limiting opportunities for purposeful learner-centered training. I mean, it's pretty rare to see a policy confront its own past limitations so directly, right? But it really shows a clear, genuine commitment to fixing the problem.
So, here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to cover moving past tedious paperwork, the new ILAW Framework, core learning design principles, navigating AI and lesson planning, and finally, shifting to support rather than just compliance.
All right, Section 1, moving past tedious paperwork. Think back to the 2016 era under DO number 42. For a decade, teachers were practically chained to the rigid formats of detailed lesson plans and daily lesson logs. It was so heavily focused on documentation over everything else. But now, look at the 2026 era. The goal is flexible, efficient, and context-responsive instructional planning. The new order explicitly states that lesson plans should adapt based on your specific situation and your needs as a teacher. It's about organizing your actual instructional thinking, not just filling in endless little boxes. Signed into effect on June 4th, 2026, this official document mandates the removal of those repetitive administrative tasks. In fact, it repeals DO No. 42 entirely. It's gone. This aligns perfectly with other recent policies aimed at pulling administrative weight off public school teachers. The whole goal here is literally to give you your time back so you can actually focus on designing meaningful experiences for your students.
Moving right along to Section 2, the ILAW Framework Explained.
Say hello to the ILAW Framework. ILAW is a super memorable acronym that officially replaces all those convoluted tables and components we used to use. It's designed to be your clear compass for the classroom. You'll now just use 4 core elements to organize your instructional thinking. This is the new, vastly simplified national standard for designing focused and coherent learning experiences. Let's actually break down these 4 pillars because they build on each other logically. First, I stands for intentions. This is where you identify your competencies and unpack them into clear objectives. Next up is L for learning experience. This covers your resources, pre-lesson activities, and the actual flow of the lesson. Then A is for assessing learning, basically conducting formative assessments throughout the session to adjust your instruction on the fly. And finally, W is ways forward. At the end of the session, you just reflect on the experience and identify your next steps, like remediation or enrichment. Intentions, learning experience, assessing learning, ways forward. ILAW. It is beautifully simple. Now, I know learning a brand new format can be a bit anxiety-inducing, but take a look at the optional Annex B planning guide. Look at how incredibly clean and spacious that is. And the best part? The order explicitly states this serves only as a reference tool. It is not a required national template. You are not required to add extra components beyond the ILAW framework. Additional documentation is officially a thing of the past.
Okay, Section 3, Core Learning Design Principles.
The order doesn't just stop at paperwork. It actually outlines this fantastic matrix of learning design principles. This gives educators everywhere a shared, modern language for effective teaching. Look at some of these in practice. Scaffolding reminds us to provide guidance before releasing responsibility to the learners. Checks for understanding emphasizes low-stakes, timely checks, and notes they shouldn't just be crammed in at the end of the lesson. Active retrieval is all about purposefully revisiting prior lessons to strengthen memory. And inclusion ensures we're actively removing barriers for learners with disabilities. This is high-level pedagogical strategy made super accessible. Let's shift gears a bit. Section 4, Navigating AI in Lesson Planning. This is fascinating. Think of the new AI guidelines like a traffic light system. Red means absolutely prohibited. AI tools cannot be used for core instructional decision-making. You can't use AI to define your learning objectives or make critical judgments about learner needs. Yellow means limited use. AI can help rephrase or organize text, but only after you've made the key decisions and you must validate it. Green means guided use. AI is perfectly fine for routine stuff like grammar checks, formatting, and translation.
The massive takeaway here is simply this: human judgment remains paramount. The policy explicitly states that fully AI-generated lesson plans are strictly prohibited, period. Over-reliance on AI limits a teacher's responsiveness. AI is an amazing assistant for the administrative edges of your work, for sure, but it can never, ever replace the pedagogical heart and soul of a human teacher.
And that brings us to our final part. Section 5, support, not just compliance. The policy introduces Annex A, which is a self-check rubric. It asks really simple questions like, are intentions clearly stated? And is the learning experience inclusive? But you know what makes this a true paradigm shift? It isn't the rubric itself. It's how leadership is mandated to use it.
Listen to this quote because it completely flips the script. The rubric shall be used only to support professional reflection and instructional improvement, and not as a compliance checklist or scoring tool for paperwork completion. Your principals, your master teachers, your supervisors, they are now officially tasked with being supportive instructional coaches. They're explicitly told not to just check your paperwork for completeness anymore. The whole culture is shifting heavily towards collaboration. Learning Action Cell, or LAC sessions, are highlighted as the main venues for peer learning. And get this, sharing lesson plans is officially encouraged and recognized as valid evidence of preparation. Plus, those high-pressure formal evaluations, they're taking a back seat. Leaders are now highly encouraged to conduct frequent, non-rated, informal walkthroughs, usually just 10 to 15 minutes, simply to observe and give you timely developmental feedback. Now, don't panic. You won't have to switch everything over overnight. The department built in a very reasonable grace period here. While the order takes effect in June 2026, you can comfortably keep using your old DLL or DLP templates through the end of the first term of school year 2026-2027. This gives everyone time to adapt. Full implementation of the simplified ILAW guidelines doesn't actually begin until the second term. So, as we wrap up this explainer on DepEd Order No. 016, I want to leave you with a thought to ponder. The red tape is officially cut. You've got the simplified ILAW framework. You have transformed your supervisors into coaches rather than auditors. As you step out from under that mountain of compliance paperwork, how are you going to use this newfound creative freedom to spark brilliance in your classroom? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and here is to a much more flexible, focused, and truly educational future.